I was born, son of Yvonne, brown cornflake, thank God banana. I was in the control, in the lobby.
Before we start, a brief introduction. My name is Noah DaCosta. I am a YouTuber, but I'm also, I do a bunch of things really. The short sentence version of what I do is just media. I do media. But within that, I do radio presenting, I write poetry, I rap, interview people. I love interviewing people. That's one of the things I want to make my job. And sometimes model. I do a bunch of things, really. Anything kind of media related, I do. But generally, it's based around communication, talking, interacting with people. And yeah, this is my channel. Welcome. For this first video, I'll be talking about kind of what I want for 2022. I'll probably make a video talking about how my 2021 and 2020 was another time. But I can summarize it here as basically a lot. I kind of wrestled and struggled with my faith for the first time in a major way, leaving me unsure about things now, which is a place I've never been. I was in a relationship. I struggled with my mental health note in a pretty big way. I'm still going through it, to be honest. But I started going to therapy as well, which has been really, really good. And so with all that, it's kind of made it so this year, I want the focus to be myself and my growth in particular. Now, that's not necessarily an original thought at all, actually. I mean, every year, like 80% of the population is like, I want to focus on me. But the reason why it's kind of, it's a bit different for me is just because, generally speaking, whenever a new year comes around, like my goals have always been like certain things, like, oh, I want to do this more, I want to achieve this. So it's always been something external. I've never consciously made myself the focus of the year. I don't know, I guess kind of taken myself as something to be worked on for granted and just kind of focused on those things. And ironically, I'm in a place where some of those things have happened now, but still doesn't feel right. Not enough work has been done on me, really. Anyone who knows me in person, which at the moment will be most people watching this, will know that I'm very outgoing, I'm very extroverted, I like to be out, I like to be busy. It's not that I'm afraid of my own company per se, although recently, I just get bored easily. I get very bored and restless easily, and I feel, maybe that's a manifestation of fear, but yeah, I just basically get very bored very quickly by myself. And so I feel like I constantly need that stimulation. Despite how I come off and despite how I feel sometimes, and despite how, kind of validation I may have received over the years, particularly the last few years, my self-esteem is actually a lot lower than I thought it was. And I mean, I don't like to say that it's low, but it probably is actually low. And I don't say that in self-deprecating way. I'm not saying that to be humble, because I want to be as honest as possible. But I think my self-esteem is a lot lower than I would like it to be. And my sense of security is kind of based a lot in external things, which is a sucky thing to realize, but necessary to realize. And so that's one of the things I want to build. And as to why that's the case, it's a lot. It's probably a lot of things, to be honest. It's probably a lot of things. In terms of how I want to work on myself, those things could probably be kind of put quite simply. I want to continue therapy, which I started last year. I want to read a lot more, just build my mind, add knowledge. I want to build security in what I know. Now, I'll never know everything, and there's always be someone who knows more than you, but I don't want to just sound well-read, I want to be well-read. That's trauma. And I want to work on my health and eating. I want to cut out meat entirely. I don't know when or how it will happen, but this year I want it to be the year. And I also want to exercise more. Now, a lot of those things are quite typical. I'm quite confident about the health one because I'm moving out this year, which I think will be really good for me. And the guys I'm moving out with are very healthy and they're very, they're very on their kind of workout thing and stuff like that. And to be honest, I've been actually craving the gym. I don't go that much at all, but I've been in isolation the last few days and I've been kind of down and thinking about things. And yeah, you don't want a coping mechanism that's your crutch, but I think having something to just kind of like, just kind of put some force into and to kind of crank out frustration into that's actually benefiting me will be very good. And I think I want to get a little bit hooked on it. I don't want to come this massive meat, just this kind of thing of meat or whatever. But I just want to make that kind of one of my hobbies and kind of healthy coping mechanisms, if that makes sense. And I've realized, as a result of last year that I am, this might be a strong phrase, but in many ways I'm emotionally dependent on people, which isn't a bad thing. And I think you very much need that in your life. But I think that I was talking about coping mechanisms earlier, it's kind of become the way that I kind of feel decent. Like, again, because I don't often spend a lot of time by myself, part of why lockdown was hard because there was just nothing to do but sit with myself. And it's not that I need to suddenly become like an introvert when I'm an extrovert or whatever, but I want to become more solid and stable and secure in myself, to where if no one is around, I can still back myself. Like I said, again, I want to reiterate, I'm a big believer in leaning on people. I'm a big believer in family and community. That's kind of one of my kind of core things I want to build wherever I am. I think it's like the most important thing. I think anyone who kind of says they don't need anyone is killing themselves ultimately. And I think you always end up kind of keeping people at arm's length. And yet at the same time, I think I'm a little bit too far down that spectrum and I want to become a little bit more solid in myself. I think a lot of the things, a lot of kind of how I feel about myself and any kind of confidence I build and stuff like that, oftentimes I best receive it through other people. Words of affirmation is one of my main love languages, probably my number one actually. I want to be more secure in myself to where I can see something, say it's a good job. I know it's a good job. I put it out and help people think. Now, as I've been growing up, I'm 23 now, turning 24 this year. Gradually that's been building, but I want to actively build that. That's something that I really want to practice because, I think it's because of kind of life and kind of, how I was raised to a certain degree and kind of, again, how I approached kind of faith and God. There was very little self-trust. And that's pretty much the main one, actually. I thought there was going to be more, but just kind of that sense of security, because from that security comes everything else. I want to work on my self-discipline and everything like that, but the more secure I am in myself and the more I believe in myself, the more I'll be able to be like, I can do that. Because sometimes when I feel like I lack self-discipline, it's actually because I'm afraid that I can't do it. I'm afraid of failure. Oh, actually, which brings me to my second thing. I want to be more uncomfortable this year. I want to do more things out of my comfort zone that I haven't done. I haven't had a boring life, I'd say. Well, definitely not. However, since becoming an adult, I think there are a lot of things I haven't done, that some would deem good or bad, that I haven't done out of fear of going the wrong way. I've been taught both explicitly and implicitly that you can either go the right way or the wrong way, and that if you do this one thing, it can lead to the worst, which is bullshit, to be honest. But that's what I'm taught and kind of, subconsciously believe in. That's not true. If you don't want to go a certain way or be a certain person or do a certain thing, then you won't. And yeah, I just want to trust myself more. And, obviously in the last kind of bit of lockdown, I've been just, doing a little, just exploring, doing a few more things that I haven't done, etc. And I'm like, oh, actually, look, like, it's not that bad. I'm not this or that. I've been realizing that, well, actually, this thing that I kind of, demonize or kind of put over there or whatever, actually isn't that bad. And I'm not some sort of whatever for doing that, you know what I mean? Like, it's basically, I used to view the world in kind of, a straight kind of binary, yes or no, black or white. And I kind of viewed my path that way. Even if I didn't think it consciously, I thought it subconsciously. And I want to approach life more openly than I have before. Because especially after being locked down for 2 years, because that was not the way. And yeah, so that's pretty much more security, more self-trust, more discomfort. Anyway, I'm Noah DaCosta, and I hope you enjoyed. You know, it's funny. I do the clap thing every time, but I don't even need to sync. The mic is plugged into the camera.
1800 for the new rusty. Man, grab it and kick it like rugby. I was on a tea house, head back dusty. Still waking up to Newton country. Bore on the off and a bando. Profit also lovely. My little bro shared that I packed and flushed it.